how does the system looks like and works from the customer, like from the client perspective, which, for
Got
example,
it.
wants to buy, and search for the specific leads, etc.
So there's two options, right? So there's two dashboards. So right now we have the more advanced one on because that fits within our model, but there's also an option to switch into a funnel. Over here, you're able to filter through the various databases. So people, which includes general consumer info or contact info. It's not connected to a homeowner or a business owner. Then these pieces of information here, the homeowners, for instance, there's no homeowner in here without a consumer, if that makes sense. Every homeowner is skip traced to this consumer database. So there's 49 million records of homeowner. You have the ability to filter every lead has to have an email, or every lead has to have a cell phone, or every lead has to be a residential home. And what makes it a residential home? None of these markings appear in the address. And obviously we may miss one. There might be something that's CND for condo that some county labels it as. And if you notice that, just let us know. One thing I will say I've noticed that I think works best for consumers is making sure you do something with the age. Keep in mind, Susan from your local county tax collector's office, depending on the county, she may be smoking a cigarette, typing in all these numbers in manually. And obviously you may have counties that are very high tech and you may have counties that are not high tech. So I found like a self-cleaning that I found works pretty well is just to, remove any age that would not make sense. So I do over the age of 25, under the age of 85, something like that. You would change it. But just like that, we removed 6 million people. So you're able to filter by purchase year, median income, purchase price. But one thing I'll say is Susan from Massachusetts doesn't get paid to enter in the home details. So in theory, if you were trying to reach homeowners in Massachusetts and you were to put in median income of 50,000, you're going to remove all of Massachusetts by default. They put in Kentucky. Within like the filtering, you'll see obviously these different, this is census data. I tell people the only reason it's there is to find Spanish people, because mathematically, if you have a neighborhood less than 15% black, less than 15% white, that leaves Asian or Latino. And in more instances than not, we will not have a 70% Asian neighborhood. So just using different demographic things from the census to try to understand. And why would you want to reach Spanish speaking people? Because some people have a really good niche with people who speak Spanish. Let me just fix the ages. And I just did that mistake. So see this, I went to -3. If you scroll, I still haven't fixed this, but if you scroll, it changes the number. So make sure when you type in a number or when you're in there, you X out of it, like make sure it's not there so you don't accidentally change up the range like I did. All right, so like that, we have 13 million people that more likely than not speak Spanish. And how do I know that? Well, we don't know unless we call them, obviously. But if we look at some numbers, you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 out of 7 have a Spanish last name. Doesn't mean they speak Spanish, but do they live in a household with someone who speaks Spanish? Statistically, it's likely. The last thing I'll mention too is with the landline. I found in a unique way how I use this right now. And what this could mean is basically every landline we have is the first landline that was ever tied to this record. And typically, as long as you weren't born like after 2012, every home had a landline. So when you were born, you got a social security number. And the hospital also had a unique landline on where to find your parents at. So if I was born in an area and the area code happened to be 516, I'm looking for people who were born in Nassau County, for instance. Now, when I do that, obviously I'm going to really filter it down and make it a much smaller amount. It's 5,563 people. But you'll see here that these people live in Texas now, and that's the point. Because you might be looking for people born and raised in one area, but then potentially moved to another area. For instance, someone wanted to sell funeral plots in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they had us do this to find everyone born in Scranton that now owns a condo in Florida. So let's use that as an example, actually, Florida. So we're going to look for people who own a condo in Florida and that speaks Spanish. So I'm gonna remove the cell phone column just to make sure we get a good sample. And now we have a really unique set of, a really targeted area where all these people were born in New York and they now own a residence at this point in time that is a residential home, not an apartment, in Florida. Any questions on all the homeowner stuff we just did?
So, for example, um, so the client. I'm doing a search, and it shows me like 5 million, right, of potential leads that I can download. But I can daily, so there's a limit, right? So am I kind of saving this search? And for example, I loaded like 30,000 contacts today, and I can download another like 30,000 tomorrow. Are these leads kind of like saved, and I can kind of continue like another day, or how does it work if there's a huge amount of data download? So how does it work in terms of to download everything? Like
Got it. So let's remove some of these filters just so we can so everything you save gets added to a unique suppression list tied to your account. So I can go off and save a list, and I'll say 500 of them. So now everything that I save gets stored under purchase lists. Sometimes it fails. Like this is actually a time of day when things fail because everyone's downloading at the same time. But right now it was successful. So it gets emailed over to the email I have tied here and comes in as a zip file that I can unzip and then download. You can also add in other emails, meaning if you want the data to send to a different email address, you can just, add it in like this. And now you have that email address that you can easily now save a new list under. And you'll see that email address is there that you can send it to.